My fork hovers halfway to my mouth, laden with sweet potato casserole, as my father's words slice through the muted clatter of Thanksgiving dinner. You're nothing but a leech. It's time for you to leave this house. The sweet potato suddenly looks foreign, unappetizing. Around me, the dining room falls into a silence so complete I can hear the antique clock ticking from the living room. The same clock I paid to repair last month. I look up, searching for something, anything in my mother's face. But Denise stares intently at her plate, rearranging green beans she hasn't touched. Across from me, my 17-year-old sister Tessa's eyes have gone wide, fixed on her half-empty glass of water. What makes this betrayal so sharp is the timing. I spent the entire morning in the kitchen, basting the turkey, whipping potatoes, and baking 3 different pies while they watched football. Just 20 minutes ago, I shared news about my promotion at work. Now, as steam rises from the food I prepared, my father declares me unwelcome. The irony doesn't escape me. My name is on the electric bill that keeps these lights glowing, the water bill that filled the glasses on this table, the grocery receipt for every morsel of this meal, and the insurance statement that covered my mother's doctor appointment last week. Yet somehow, I'm the burden. 3 months ago, when Mom lost her job at the accounting firm, I stepped in without hesitation. The bills piled up faster than excuses, and Frank's part-time work at the hardware store barely covered the mortgage. I started paying for everything else: utilities, groceries, car insurance, even Mom's medical expenses. Each month, as more accounts transferred to my name, Dad grew more distant, more resentful. His signature, once required for everything in this household, became increasingly irrelevant. His authority, diminishing. 2 weeks ago, I overheard him talking to Mr. Simmons next door, his voice carrying through the open kitchen window. "It's not right," he complained, leaning against the fence. "A man losing control of his own household. She acts like she owns the place now." I didn't realize he meant me until I heard him say my name. Frank stares at me now, his jaw clenched tight, waiting for tears or protests. When I simply continue eating, his knuckles whiten around his fork. The sweet potato tastes like nothing in my mouth, but I chew methodically, swallow, and take another bite. "Did you hear what I said?" His voice rises, thick with irritation. "You need to be out by the weekend." My hands tremble slightly, but not from fear, from something deeper, something shifting inside me. I set down my fork, place my napkin beside my plate, and meet his gaze. I understand perfectly. I understand perfectly. These 3 words hang in the air, not tearful or angry but calm, almost thoughtful. Frank blinks, clearly thrown by my composure. The silence stretches until Mom finally speaks, but not to defend me. "Blair," she says, voice hushed and hurried. "You'll still pay the medical insurance this month, right? I have that appointment on Tuesday." And there it is. The full picture comes into perfect, painful focus. Not family, just a financial resource. Not daughter, just a signature on the bottom of checks. I stand and collect my plate, along with Tessa's empty glass. "Of course, Mom," I answer, my voice steady despite the hollow feeling spreading through my chest. "I'll take care of it before I go." As I move toward the kitchen, my mind catalogs everything in this house that bears my name. The internet service I upgraded when Tessa needed it for school. The refrigerator I replaced when the old one died in July. The utility accounts transferred to me when the warnings of disconnection arrived. I rinse my plate at the sink, methodically scraping uneaten food into the garbage disposal. Through the kitchen window, I can see my car in the driveway, the only thing I own outright that isn't tied to this house. At least I'll have that when I leave. Behind me, I hear Tessa's chair scrape against the floor as she brings her plate to the kitchen. When she places it beside the sink, she doesn't meet my eyes, but her fingertips brush against my wrist for the briefest moment. It's the closest thing to support I've felt in months. The digital clock on my nightstand blinks 1:18 a.m. as I fold another sweater into my suitcase. Sleep feels impossible with the weight of Frank's words still ringing in my ears. I've been packing methodically for hours, my movements automatic while my mind races. I reach for the stack of financial documents I keep in my desk drawer: insurance statements, utility bills, grocery receipts, planning to sort what I need to take. But underneath them, I spot a bank statement with Frank's name. Strange. I haven't seen paper statements for months. Everything switched to electronic after Mom lost her job. I pull it out, then another, and another. A small stack of statements spanning the last 3 months, all for an account I've never seen before. An account with a balance that grows each month while I've been draining my savings to keep the lights on. My hands shake as I drop onto the edge of my bed. The statements blur before my eyes until I blink hard, forcing myself to focus on the numbers. $4,000 in July, $5,000 in August, nearly $7,000 now. Flipping through the rest of the documents, I find a boat dealer's brochure with Frank's handwritten notes in the margins. Down payment, $5,500, circled in blue ink. Schedule delivery after Thanksgiving underlined twice. A fishing boat. While I've been paying for Mom's doctor visits and the internet Tessa needs for school, there's more. A notepad with dates jotted down. November utility due dates, my name with question marks. After bills paid, written and underlined. They've been planning this for weeks, waiting until I covered November's expenses before kicking me out. A soft knock interrupts my thoughts. The door opens just enough for Tessa to slip through, her eyes wide as she takes in the packed boxes and open suitcases. "You're really leaving?" she asks, hovering by the door like she's preparing a quick escape. I sit surrounded by the physical evidence of my family's betrayal, while Tessa stands with one hand still on the doorknob. The power imbalance isn't lost on me, her freedom to walk away, my forced departure. "Dad didn't give me much choice," I answer, tucking the bank statements into my purse. Tessa chews her bottom lip. "Mom said they need your room for storage now that Dad's buying that boat." The casual confirmation hits like a physical blow. "Boat?" "The fishing boat he put a deposit on last month." Tessa's voice drops to nearly a whisper. "I heard them planning all this weeks ago. How they'd wait until after you paid the bills for November." "You knew?" The betrayal expands, growing tendrils that reach even to Tessa. Her eyes fill with tears. "I was scared to tell you. Dad said anyone who warned you would be next." I want to be angry with her, but the fear in her face is too real. She's still a child navigating the same manipulative household I'm escaping. "There's more," she continues, glancing nervously at the hallway. "Those medical appointments Mom's been having? The ones you've been paying for with your insurance? What about them?" Last week she came home with her lips all puffy. She told Dad the doctor said she couldn't drink through a straw for 2 days. Tessa mimics our mother's distinctive eye roll. "It wasn't a checkup, Blair. It was fillers." The room seems to tilt slightly. I've been eating ramen noodles 3 times a week to stretch my budget while my mother gets cosmetic procedures on my insurance. I pull out my bank app, showing Tessa my account balance, $763.42. 3 months ago, I had over $9,000 saved. This is what's left of my savings after covering everything here. I tell her, if I'd stayed even one more month, I'd have nothing left. The severity of my situation crystallizes as I say it aloud. I've been on the brink of financial ruin, pouring everything into a family that sees me as nothing more than an ATM, Dad said. "If you try to take any furniture, he'll report you for theft." Tessa says, "Even the stuff you bought." Of course he did. I glance around at the desk I purchased when I started working from home during the pandemic, the bookshelf I assembled myself, the bedding I bought with my first paycheck. He also called the bank today about getting your name off the utility accounts. The time pressure hits me. I need to secure housing, protect what remains of my finances, and untangle myself from the family accounts before they can cause more damage. I reach under my bed and pull out a shoebox. Inside are receipts for everything I've purchased for the house, organized, dated, with my credit card statements attached. The desk, the new refrigerator, Tessa's laptop, the living room carpet, even utility bills, with my name clearly listed as the account holder. A small victory in this sea of betrayal. Proof that I'm not crazy, that I've been carrying this household while they plotted behind my back. Tessa watches me sort through the receipts, her expression unreadable. "Blair?" she asks finally. "Yes?" "What would you do in my place? If you had to choose between standing up for what's right and keeping peace in the only home you have?" As I sorted through these receipts in the middle of the night, I faced a difficult choice. Should I confront my parents with evidence of their manipulation? Or simply leave and let them discover the consequences on their own? Standing up for myself might bring closure, but a quiet exit would avoid a painful confrontation. What would you do when the people who should love you unconditionally have proven they only value what you provide? I look at my sister, caught in the same toxic environment I'm escaping, and realize I don't have an easy answer for either of us. 3 days later, while I am at lunch break at my part-time job, My Aunt Phyllis's voice crackles through the phone, each word landing like a slap. Honestly, Blair, I never thought you'd abandon your parents when they needed you most. I grip the phone tighter, watching my knuckles turn white. 3 days since Thanksgiving, and Frank has already constructed his version of events for the family to consume. Did Dad mention he kicked me out? I ask, keeping my voice level. He said you left them high and dry after a little disagreement, she says, her tone heavy with judgment. They're organizing a family meeting at my house this weekend to discuss your behavior. Of course they are. A public forum where they control the narrative. I'm sure they are, I say, and end the call before she can respond. After the shift, I came to my friend's home. I sink onto the edge of Drew's pull-out couch, now my temporary bed. My entire life sits in 4 hastily packed boxes and 2 suitcases stacked against the wall. Everything I couldn't fit waits in my car downstairs. 25 years reduced to what I could grab in 2 frantic hours while my parents were at church on Sunday. My phone buzzes again. Another text from a cousin who's heard I've broken Mom's heart. I don't open it. The constant notifications have created a new anxiety. Each alert sends my heart racing, wondering which relative will attack next. When Drew returns from her shift at the hospital, she finds me cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by paperwork. Operation Financial Freedom? Going well? She asks, dropping her bag by the door. Almost done. I tap my pen against a notebook filled with account numbers. I've canceled the automatic payments for their utilities, removed myself from their cell phone plan, and called to take my name off their internet service. What I don't say is how the customer service representative laughed when I explained that, yes, I was voluntarily removing myself from financial responsibility for my parents' bills. Good, Drew says, settling beside me. Your parents can figure out their own mess. The weight of starting over presses against my chest. My savings account shows a balance that would make most financial advisors wince. 3 months of covering my family's expenses has left me with barely enough for a security deposit on my own place, let alone first and last month's rent. You sure your roommate doesn't mind me crashing here? I ask. Max? He's thrilled to have. The front door swings open, and Max bursts in with his enormous golden retriever bounding ahead of him. Blair, Max announces. You have to meet the world's worst therapist, but he works for treats. He tosses a tennis ball across the apartment, and Baxter launches after it, all flailing paws and wagging tail. The dog returns, dropping the slobbery ball in my lap with expectant eyes. He thinks you need this more than he does, Max says, his expression serious despite the ridiculousness of the moment. Sometimes the best therapy has 4 legs and terrible breath. When Baxter nudges my hand with his wet nose, I find myself laughing for the first time in days. The sound surprises me, almost foreign to my ears. 5 days after my escape, I sit at Drew's kitchen table, laptop open to job listings that might offer better pay. My current position covers my basic needs, but not the kind of emergency fund I'll need to truly rebuild. My phone lights up with my mother's name. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but something tells me to answer. What have you done? Denise's voice comes through sharp and panicked. The power's out, the internet's down, and my insurance was declined at my appointment. I take a slow breath, feeling strangely calm. I stopped paying for things that weren't my responsibility. But you can't just leave us like this. We're your family. The desperation in her voice might have moved me once, but now I hear the manipulation beneath it. Family doesn't call family a Leech at Thanksgiving dinner. I say, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Your father didn't mean it. Her tone shifts to something softer, placating. You know how he gets. I do know. That's the problem. I end the call and set my phone down carefully, as if it might burn me. Later that evening, Drew leans over my shoulder as I create new passwords for my email and banking accounts. I notice some suspicious login attempts on your accounts, she says, pointing to the security alerts. We should set up fraud alerts just to be safe. The contrast isn't lost on me, Drew asks, before borrowing my charging cable, while my family felt entitled to everything I owned. Even now, Drew stands a respectful distance away, waiting for my response instead of grabbing the laptop to do it herself. Good idea, I say. Thanks. That night, I find myself scrolling through apartment listings within my budget. Small studios, most of them, but they represent something I've never fully had, a space that's completely mine, where no one can tell me I don't belong. I don't ask anyone's opinion about the neighborhoods, or worry whether the kitchens are big enough for family gatherings. The decisions are mine alone. The next morning, I head to a local credit union and open a new account under just my name. I transfer every penny from my old account, the one my parents know about. My phone pings with a text from Tessa. Mom looking for your banking info. Says she needs to check something. Don't trust her. I've barely finished reading when my phone explodes with notifications, 6 missed calls from home in the last hour. Simultaneously, an email appears. Fraud alert, password reset attempt on your banking app. I stare at the screen, anger rising like a tide. They're not just trying to guilt me into coming back. They're trying to take what little I have left. A day later, the bank representative's voice carries a note of concern that feels strangely validating. Miss Mitchell, we've blocked 3 separate password reset attempts from your parents' home address in the last 24 hours. I grip my phone tighter, pacing the small confines of Drew's spare bedroom that has become my temporary sanctuary. And you're certain they can't access anything? Positive. We've flagged your account for enhanced security measures. Any changes will require in-person verification with photo ID. My chest loosens slightly as I thank her and end the call, adding her name to my growing documentation notebook. Methodical calls have yielded similar results: credit cards secured, utilities formally removed from my name, and medical insurance accounts protected with additional verification steps. The electric company representative had sounded almost impressed. Smart move contacting us. Your mother called yesterday trying to reinstate service in your name without authorization. Each confirmation acts like a brick in the wall I'm building between my former life and whatever comes next. Not a wall of anger, though that simmers beneath the surface, but of protection, solid, necessary, and entirely of my own design. Drew appears in the doorway with a steaming mug. Tea with honey. Thought you could use it after all those calls. I accept it gratefully, wrapping my hands around the warmth. Last one done. Nobody can access or change anything without my direct approval now. Drew nods approvingly. How does it feel? Before I can answer, a thunderous pounding rattles the apartment door. The tea sloshes over my fingers as Drew and I exchange startled glances. Blair. My father's voice booms through the wood. Open this door right now. Drew motions for me to stay put, but I'm already moving. This confrontation has been inevitable since the moment I walked out. The pounding intensifies as I approach, each impact like a physical blow. Through the peephole, I see my father's face, flushed and contorted with rage. I've seen directed at bill collectors, telemarketers, and now me. I know you're in there. Another series of blows makes the door frame shudder. You think you can just abandon your family and destroy our lives? A door opens across the hall, and Mrs. Perkins, a retiree who baked cookies for Drew when he first moved in, peers out cautiously. Her eyes widen at the sight of Frank pounding and shouting. Young man, she calls, her voice quavering but determined. I've already called building security. Frank whirls toward her. Mind your own business, lady. This is between me and my daughter. Your behavior is my business when it disturbs the peace, she retorts, pulling her robe tighter around herself. Frank turns back to the door, his voice dropping to something more dangerous. Blair, if you don't open this door right now, I'll... The threat transforms into action as he steps back and kicks the door hard enough to splinter the wood around the lock. Mrs. Perkins gasps and retreats inside her apartment. My hands tremble as I dial 911, speaking quietly to the dispatcher while Frank continues his assault on the door. Through the damaged wood, I hear the elevator ding, followed by heavy footsteps. Sir, step away from the door immediately. The authoritative voice of the building's security guard cuts through Frank's shouts. This is my daughter's place. I have every right. You have no right to damage property or disturb residents. Police have been called. Frank's response is lost in the sound of sirens approaching outside. Minutes later, I watch through the peephole as 2 officers escort my father down the hallway, his wrists cuffed behind his back, while he continues to shout that I'm the one destroying our family. When the police officer returns to take my statement, I provide it calmly, describing the financial manipulation, the unauthorized access attempts, and today's outburst with the same detached precision I've used in my documentation notebook. The officer Rodriguez, according to his nameplate, nods thoughtfully as he takes notes. Would you like to press charges for the attempted break-in? The question hangs in the air as Drew returns from speaking with building management about the damaged door. Yes. I say, the words small but firm, and I'd like to file for a restraining order. Later, as I watch the police car drive away with my father in the back seat, I wonder, was filing an official report too harsh a response to years of manipulation? Or was it the necessary step to protect myself from further harm? Drew squeezes my shoulder gently. Max is bringing home some security cameras for the entrance. We'll set them up tonight. I nod, grateful for the practical support that asks nothing in return. My phone buzzes with a text from Tessa. Mom took your laptop and camera from your room, said they're collateral for what you owe them. The message lands like a stone in my stomach. More theft to add to the emotional robbery they've committed for years. I thumb a quick response. Do you know where she took them? Tessa's reply comes almost instantly. Heard her on the phone with Parkway Pawn. Said she got $300 for both. Cated. I show Drew the message, anger rising fresh and hot in my throat. Those were worth over $2,000. Do you have the receipts? Serial numbers? I nod, thinking of the meticulous documentation I've maintained for tax purposes. Everything. An hour later, Officer Williams takes my theft report with appropriate seriousness, examining my purchase receipts and noting the serial numbers. Pawning someone else's property is a criminal offense, she explains, her tone professional but kind. We'll contact the shop and recover your items. The system that felt so often stacked against me now works in my service, a strange reversal that leaves me lightheaded with possibility. That evening, my phone begins lighting up with calls from relatives I haven't spoken to in months. Aunt Sarah's message is the first I listen to. Blair, honey, I heard about Frank's arrest. I'm so sorry. We had no idea things were so bad. The neighbors who witnessed Frank's outburst have apparently shared their observations, shifting the public narrative my parents tried to control. The story is spreading, cracks forming in the facade my parents constructed. As I help Max mount the security camera above Drew's door, another text from my mother arrives. The casual entitlement of her words makes my jaw clench. I had to pawn your camera and laptop to cover the electric bill you left us with. Parkway Pawn on 4th Street. You owe me $300 plus interest. In K. I pass the phone to Drew, who reads it and shakes her head in disbelief. The delusion is almost impressive, she mutters, handing it back. I save the message as evidence, my anger not at her audacity but at how long I allowed myself to believe I deserved such treatment. The revelation settles into determination as I finish securing the camera that will capture any future attempts to invade the new boundaries I've built. This time, I'm the one watching. My phone vibrates against the coffee table, my mother's name flashing on the screen. I've been waiting for this call. 3 days since I filed the police report about my stolen laptop and camera, and finally, they're ready to negotiate. Blair? Mom's voice trembles slightly. I've been thinking about everything, and I want to propose a compromise. I say nothing, letting the silence stretch between us. In the background, I hear the television playing the same game show that used to fill our living room every weekday at this hour. If you drop that ridiculous theft report, you can come back home. She pauses, clears her throat. We'll let you continue living here, of course. Your room is still exactly as you left it. The rehearsed quality of her words is unmistakable. I picture Dad hovering nearby, nodding approval at her performance. And Blair, she continues when I don't respond. I think we should discuss your state of mind lately. Frank and I are concerned that you might be having some kind of breakdown. That's something our friends and family would understand better than what you're claiming happened. The threat lands with perfect clarity. Drop the charges or be labeled unstable. I take a slow breath. I have copies of every bill I've paid for the last 6 months. I say, my voice steady. I have bank statements showing transfers to your account. I have text messages asking me to pay for your cosmetic procedures that you claimed were medical necessities. I pause. Would you like me to present all of that as evidence? The silence on the other end tells me everything I need to know. The next morning, Officer Williams follows my car to my parents' house. Her police cruiser parked in the driveway sends a clear message to the neighbors who've been fed my father's lies. As we walk to the front door, I notice curtains twitching in windows across the street. Mom answers the door, her smile faltering when she sees the officer. Mrs. Mitchell, Officer Williams says, I'm here to accompany Blair, while she retrieves her remaining belongings. Inside, the house feels smaller than I remember. Mom hovers nearby as I head straight for my bedroom, Officer Williams following close behind. I've prepared copies of all my financial contributions. I tell the officer, handing her a folder I've been compiling. Utilities, groceries, medical bills, the new refrigerator I purchased in July, all with receipts. Officer Williams flips through the pages, her eyebrows rising. You paid for all of this while living here? Yes. For the past 6 months, since my mother lost her job. Mom appears in the doorway, arms crossed. That furniture belongs to the family, Blair. You can't just take everything. I pull a stack of receipts from my bag and hold them up. I have receipts for everything I'm taking. Would you like to see them? Officer Williams studies my mother's face, then glances back at the financial records. The surprise in her eyes is unmistakable. Mrs. Mitchell, these documents show your daughter has been supporting this household almost entirely on her own. Mom's mouth opens, then closes. She retreats down the hallway without another word. I work methodically, packing books, clothes, and the remaining items that are unquestionably mine. Through my bedroom window, I can see the neighbors watching from their porches, pretending to water plants or check mail. Let them see. Let them know the truth. When the last box is loaded into my car, I turn to lock the front door one final time. The sound of an engine draws my attention to the street. My other car that I'd left parked at Drew's apartment, pulls into the driveway, my father behind the wheel. My stomach drops. The spare key. I'd forgotten about the spare key I'd given them for emergencies. Dad steps out, jingling my keys in his hand. His expression is triumphant as he walks toward me. We need to discuss what you owe us before you take this too, he says, gesturing toward the vehicle I'm about to drive away in. I set down the box I'm holding and reach into my purse, pulling out a folder of documents I've been carrying for precisely this moment. This is the title to that car, I say, holding up the paper. And this is the registration, both in my name. Officer Williams steps forward. Sir, that vehicle is registered to Blair. You need to hand over the keys immediately. The color drains from Dad's face as he looks from the documents to the officer. His hand tightens around the keys. I paid for her college, her braces, 18 years of... The keys, Mr. Mitchell. Officer Williams extends her hand. Slowly, Dad's fingers uncurl. The keys drop into the officer's palm with a soft jingle. As she passes them to me, I see something I've never witnessed before: my father's complete deflation. The man who has towered over our family for decades suddenly looks small, diminished. Come near me or my property again, I say, my voice clear and calm, and I'll file for a restraining order. I slide into my car, adjust the mirror, and turn the key. As I pull away from the curb, I see the neighbors still watching, witnesses to the final act of our family drama. Mrs. Henderson from next door doesn't even pretend to be checking her mailbox anymore. She stands on her lawn, phone in hand, no doubt already spreading the news. In my rearview mirror, Tessa appears in the doorway. She's caught between worlds, one foot in the house where our parents remain, one hand raised in a tentative wave to me. Her face reflects both sorrow and something else: admiration, perhaps. The strength she hasn't yet found for herself. I'm 3 blocks away when my phone buzzes with a text. Tessa. They're blaming me now. What do I do? The light ahead turns red. I press the brake and stare at the screen, watching those 3 dots appear as she types something else, then disappear. My sister, the one innocent party in all of this, now stands where I once did, bearing the weight of our parents' manipulation. The light changes to green, but I remain still, cars honking behind me as I consider what comes next. Sunlight streams through gauzy curtains I chose myself, painting warm patterns across the hardwood floors of my apartment. 3 months have passed since I drove away from my parents' house with Officer Williams' business card tucked in my wallet. The difference between then and now still catches me by surprise sometimes. I run my fingers along the edge of my desk, where neatly organized bills fan out like a deck of cards: electricity, water, internet, renter's insurance, all in my name, all comfortably within my budget. No one else's financial emergencies hiding between the envelopes. My bank statement sits open beside them, the numbers growing modestly but steadily each month. The emergency fund I'd depleted supporting my family is slowly rebuilding itself. 6 months of security, that's my goal. I've already reached 2. The quiet contentment of making decisions without defending them feels like a luxury I'm still getting used to. Last weekend I painted an accent wall deep teal, without asking anyone's permission or hearing how I'd regret the color choice. The freedom to make even small choices feels enormous. A year later, my apartment buzzes with the gentle hum of conversation and laughter. I slide a golden brown turkey onto my dining table, smaller than last year's but cooked to perfection. The irony of hosting Thanksgiving isn't lost on me. "Can I help with anything?" Tessa asks, hovering uncertainly by the kitchen counter. My sister looks different now, taller somehow, though she hasn't grown an inch. Maybe it's the confidence she's developing away from our parents' shadow. "Your company is contribution enough," I tell her, the words flowing naturally. How different from the tally of expenses I once kept in my head, measuring my worth by what I provided. I move around my space with an ease that would have seemed impossible last November. The dishes don't match perfectly. The table is secondhand. But everything here is genuinely mine, chosen with care, rather than acquired through obligation. Drew raises her glass as we settle around the table. To found family and boundaries worth keeping. Max and Tessa lift their glasses in response. My sister has flourished since moving into her college dorm 3 months ago. I helped her navigate financial aid forms and housing applications, knowledge from my own journey becoming stepping stones for hers. Later, as Tessa and I sort through scholarship applications at my kitchen counter, she mentions the latest family update. "They lost the house last month," she says quietly. "Dad's still blaming the bank, the economy, everyone but himself. They're staying with Uncle Rick, but he's already dropping hints about them finding their own place." I nod, glancing at the stack of unopened letters on my bookshelf. 5 envelopes, all from my parents, all unread. Setting boundaries doesn't mean I don't sometimes wonder what they say. "They still blame you for everything," Tessa continues, her pen tapping against the scholarship form. "But honestly, they're just facing what would have happened anyway. Your money was just postponing the inevitable." I help her highlight a key section on the housing assistance application, thinking about choices and consequences. As I helped Tessa build her independent life, I sometimes wondered if I should respond to my parents' attempts to reconnect. Is maintaining complete separation the healthiest choice when family has betrayed you so deeply, or is there value in allowing limited contact on your own terms? What would you do when those who should have protected you want back into your life after you've finally found peace without them? 3 hours behind the wheel, and my knuckles still grip the steering wheel as I pull into the familiar cobblestone driveway of my parents' colonial home in Springfield. Red and green lights twinkle from every neighboring house, except ours. The December wind whips around my face as I step out of my car, staring at the empty spot where Mom's silver Buick should be. Something twists in my stomach. Every Christmas Eve for the past 32 years, that car has been here, waiting. "Mom?" My voice bounces off bare walls as I unlock the front door. "Hello?" Silence answers, broken only by the hum of the ancient refrigerator. The house stands dark except for a faint glow spilling from the kitchen. A chill runs through me, one that has nothing to do with the winter air seeping through my cardigan. "Anyone home?" The floorboards creak under my feet as I move toward the light. "I brought those butter cookies you like, Grand." The words die in my throat. Grandma Irene sits alone at the kitchen table, hunched over a chipped plate of cold ham and beans. Her silver hair hangs limp and unwashed around her face. The blouse she wears, I recognize it from my visit last month. "Grandma?" My voice comes out small, like I'm 8 years old again. She doesn't look up, just pushes a torn piece of paper across the scratched wooden surface. Mom's flowery handwriting jumps out at me. "Spend your $8,200 loan on a family vacation. Please take care of Grandma. Love, Mom." The room spins. I grab the edge of the counter, feeling the granite bite into my palms. 6 months of double shifts at the laboratory flash through my mind. Weekends at the mall, folding sweaters until my fingers cramped. The jaw pain that wakes me every night, the specialist who keeps saying I need surgery before the TMJ gets worse. $8,000, the money I'd trusted Mom to hold while I switched banks. They left 3 days ago. Grandma's weathered hand covers mine, her skin feels paper thin. Mediterranean cruise. A high-pitched sound fills the room. It takes me a moment to realize it's coming from me. I need to sit down. The kitchen chair scrapes against linoleum as I sink into it. My eyes catch the empty pill organizer on the counter, an unpaid utility notice with bold red letters. "They said you'd understand." Grandma's voice drops to a whisper. "Family comes first." My hands shake as I pull out my phone. Muscle memory, finding Mom's number. It rings once before going to voicemail. We're enjoying our family vacation, back in 2 weeks. Mom's recorded voice bubbles with artificial cheer. In the background, I hear Brenda and Logan laughing. The message tone beeps. I open my mouth, but the words stick in my throat like glass. How could you? I delete it without sending. Instead, I type 4 words. Grandma is safe with me. Wait here. Grandma pushes herself up from the table, her movements slow but deliberate. She disappears into the hallway, returns clutching a worn shoebox. I've been keeping records. She sets it between us, lifts the lid. Inside, neat stacks of papers fill the space. Bank statements. Receipts. Her spidery handwriting noting dates and amounts. I've been waiting for someone to see what I've seen for years. We spread the documents across the table like a map of betrayal. Every unauthorized withdrawal, every borrowed dollar, every broken promise documented in fading ink. I look at my grandmother, really look at her. The proud woman who taught me to bake snickerdoodles, who never missed a school play, who saved every birthday card I ever made her. Now she sits in yesterday's clothes, eating cold leftovers while her own daughter sails the Mediterranean with my surgery money. Her eyes meet mine, and something shifts in their pale blue depths. The resignation melts away, replaced by a spark I haven't seen in years. This ends now. My voice comes out steady, stronger than I feel. But I need to know everything. Grandma straightens in her chair. Her fingers brush over the papers, ready to uncover decades of careful documentation. Yes, she says. It's time. The kitchen table disappears under a sea of bank statements and faded receipts. My fingertips brush against the rough edges of papers Grandma Irene has kept hidden for years, each one a testament to quiet suffering. The numbers blur before my eyes. $4,400 vanished from her pension account in increments small enough to stay under the radar. Just like Mom taught me to organize my science fair data in middle school, Grandma has documented every withdrawal with painful precision. Look here. Irene's finger trembles as she points to a series of transactions. The ATM near Richard's favorite Sinclair station. Every Friday afternoon. Her silver hair catches the morning light streaming through unwashed windows. They thought I wouldn't notice. The dates jump out at my regular withdrawals starting in 2018, right after Mom got access to Grandma's accounts. For groceries, she'd said. For Grandma's prescriptions. The prescription bottles on the counter tell a different story, empty, unfilled. My phone buzzes, a text from Kelly, Logan's wife. Can we talk? Not on family chat. I need to take this, I tell Grandma, stepping onto the back porch where frost crystals crunch under my shoes. The December wind bites through my cardigan. Elise? Kelly's voice wavers. I can't be part of this anymore. Logani said if you didn't give them the money, they'd just leave your grandma and figure it out later. The porch railing digs into my palm. What? I recorded them. Planning the cruise, laughing about using your surgery money. Richard bought new golf clubs the same day they booked it. Ice spreads through my chest. The specialist's voicemail from yesterday echoes in my head. Without intervention, the TMJ condition will continue to deteriorate. I'll testify if you need me to, Kelly says. I've watched them use you both for years. The massage therapy business Brenda keeps asking you to invest in, it's not real. Logan's been using the startup money for sports betting. The utilities notice on Grandma's counter flashes in my mind disconnection in 7 days. My own apartment lease ends next month. The surgery savings were supposed to secure my renewal. Thank you, Kelly. My voice sounds strange, distant. I need to go. Back inside, I pull up my bank's fraud department number. The recording feels endless. Your call is important to us. Please stay on the line. Grandma watches me pace, her hands folded in her lap like paper birds. Fraud prevention, this is Susan. I grip the phone tighter. I need to report unauthorized use of funds. The conversation stretches like cold taffy account numbers, dates, amounts. Susan's typing echoes through the line. I open my laptop, create a new spreadsheet. Every transaction, every lie, every betrayal cataloged in clean rows and columns. Have you considered legal action? Susan asks. I have a friend, Grandma says suddenly. Deborah Wilson, she's an attorney. Helped my friend Barbara when her son emptied her accounts. The business card appears from Grandma's weathered wallet, edges soft with age. 3 rings, Then a crisp voice answers, Deborah Wilson. 10 minutes later, she's agreed to take our case pro bono. Elder financial abuse, she calls it, the words sharp and clean as surgical instruments. We'll start with a cease and desist. Grandma's bedroom holds a lifetime of memories we need to pack. I pull a small suitcase from under her bed, the same one she took to visit me after my college graduation when everyone else was too busy. The photo, she says, pointing to her nightstand. Mom, Dad, Brenda, Logan, and me, at Thanksgiving 1998, before Richard, before the lies started. Before Mom learned to smile while reaching for someone else's wallet. You don't have to bring it, I say softly. I need to remember who they were. She tucks it between sweaters. And who they chose to become. Later that night, the spare room in my apartment isn't much a twin bed, a second-hand dresser, a window looking out at the parking lot. But the rent is paid through December and the deadbolt works. Night settles over us like a heavy blanket. Grandma stands in her new doorway, clutching her old quilted robe. The same robe she wore when teaching me to make snickerdoodles, when bandaging my scraped knees, when listening to my dreams of working in medicine. They've been stealing more than money, I say, the truth rising like steam from hot asphalt after rain. They've been stealing your dignity for years, Grandma. Her eyes meet mine in the dim light. For the first time since I found her at that kitchen table, they're clear and sharp as broken glass. Yes, she says, but not anymore. 2 days later, my phone buzzes for the 5th time today. Another Instagram notification. Brenda poses on the deck of a cruise ship, Mediterranean waters sparkling behind her, arm wrapped around Mom's shoulders. Both wear new sundresses, their faces flushed from expensive wine. Just another perfect day in paradise, reads the caption. Family time, blessed. The words blur as my jaw locks tight. The familiar ache spreads up into my temple. On my laptop screen, the bank balance mock me. $324.16. Not enough for even one of my TMJ specialist appointments, let alone the surgery. Your mother sent more pictures. Grandma Irene shuffles into my cramped living room, squinting at her ancient flip phone. They bought matching outfits in Rome. The recorded temperature on her medical chart this morning, 99.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Low-grade fever from the sinus infection we can't treat until her Medicare kicks back in. 3 more days. My phone chirps with a voicemail. Mom's voice floats through the speaker, bright as a game show host. Hi, sweetie. Found you the cutest little souvenir in Naples. Hope Grandma hasn't been too much trouble. You're such an angel for helping out. Before I can respond, a text from Logan pops up. Hey sis, you're so good with her. Maybe this is your calling instead of that surgery? Everything happens for a reason. The phone clatters onto the coffee table. My hands curl into fists, uncurl. The social services office opens in 20 minutes. Get your coat, Grandma. We have an appointment. Half an hour later, we arrived at the counseling. The waiting room smells of lemon cleaner and old coffee. Grandma's thin fingers twist in her lap as we sit across from Mrs. Chen, the elder abuse counselor. Her measured voice fills the small office. What you're describing is financial exploitation. It's more common than people think, especially with family members. She slides a folder across her desk. We need to document everything. For the next hour, Grandma speaks into a digital recorder. Her voice trembles at first, then steadies as she recounts each betrayal. The missing pension payments, the maxed out credit cards, the guilt trips and broken promises. I stand straighter with each revelation, spine stiffening like steel. This woman raised 3 children alone after Grandpa died, worked 2 jobs, never missed a bill. Now she sits in borrowed clothes because her own daughter cleaned out her accounts. 3 hours later, back home, we climb to the attic. Dust motes dance in the afternoon light as Grandma pulls out a battered storage box. Your grandfather taught me to keep everything. She lifts the lid, revealing stacks of paper organized by year. Every receipt, every bank statement, every conversation written down with the date and time. My fingers brush over her careful handwriting. Decades of documentation, waiting for someone to finally see. A text lights up my phone. Kelly, Logan's wife. Check your email. I saved the group chat screenshots from when they planned the cruise. I can't stay quiet anymore. My laptop chimes. Attorney Deborah's response arrives with 3 options, each more serious than the last. The words criminal charges jump from the screen. Weeks pass quickly. The support rolls in like a tide, Thomas from the lab offers his guest room if we need it. My supervisor approves emergency leave with pay, no questions asked. Pastor Jim sets up meal delivery from the church ladies. Barbara, the elderly widow next door, brings over coffee and banana bread. I went through something similar with my nephew, she says, squeezing my hand. You're doing the right thing. The kitchen table disappears under spreading papers, bank statements, credit card bills, photos of Grandma's empty pill organizers. Together we build our case, document by document. See how I note the date in red? Grandma demonstrates her filing system, and anything suspicious gets a yellow sticky tab. Your grandfather worked in accounting, he always said. Keep the receipts, date the conversations, I finish. The phrase echoes from childhood visits when I'd watch him organize his desk on Sunday afternoons. My phone rings. Mom's number. They're coming back tomorrow. My voice surprises me with its steadiness. No tremor, no uncertainty. Grandma's shoulders, hunched for so long, pull back. Her chin lifts. Then we'll be ready for them. We rehearse our statements late into the night, each point backed by evidence, each accusation supported by proof. No more manipulation, no more guilt, no more lies. Later, sorting through old photos, I find one from my college graduation. Empty seats in the family section. My fingers trace the lonely figure in cap and gown. I spent my whole life trying to earn their love. The words catch in my throat. Working extra shifts, lending money, making excuses for them. Grandma's arms wrap around me, fragile but fierce. Love isn't earned, sweetheart. It's given. Freely. The way you've given it to me these past weeks. I sink into her embrace, smelling talcum powder and white diamonds perfume. The scent of my real mother, the one who showed up, the one who stayed. You know what the worst part is? I whisper into her shoulder. I actually believed them every time. That next time would be different, that they'd finally see me. I saw you, Grandma says. I've always seen you, even when you couldn't see yourself. Tomorrow they'll return with tanned faces and designer luggage, expecting compliance. Forgiveness. The same old pattern. But the pattern ends here. The evidence sits in neat folders ready for court. The attorney stays on speed dial. The truth, hidden for so long in Grandma's careful records, finally breaks free. Let them come home to paradise lost. We found something better. Freedom, truth, each other. The war chest of documents stands ready on the kitchen table. Our battle plan laid out in Grandma's precise handwriting. The next move belongs to them. They taught me family comes first. They never expected me to choose the right family. The next morning, the dining room light casts harsh shadows across the polished oak table. I adjust the voice recorder one last time, centering it between stacks of bank statements and social services reports. Attorney Deborah Wilson sits beside us, her silver hair swept into an elegant French twist, her leather briefcase filled with 40 years of receipts. Grandma Irene smooths her crisp new blouse, her first shopping trip since the cruise Betrayal. Her hands tremble slightly, but her spine remains straight against the high-back chair. 3 empty chairs wait across from us, a laptop screen glowing between them. The front door squeaks open. Mom bursts in first, Brenda and Logan trailing behind. Richard brings up the rear, his usual golf polo replaced by an ill-fitting suit. We brought presents. Mom holds up a gaudy gift bag, voice artificially bright. The Mediterranean tan only highlights the strain around her eyes. Whatever she told you was exaggerated. Richard plants his feet wide, hands jammed in his pockets. Family matters should stay private. You have to see these sunset photos. Brenda fumbles with her phone, manicured nails clicking against the screen. The Greek islands were just... Is this really necessary? Logan's gaze darts between the attorney and the voice recorder. We can work this out ourselves, like always. I meet each of their eyes in turn. Please sit down. They shuffle forward, shooting nervous glances at the formal place cards marking their seats. Mom starts to speak, but I press play on the recorder. Kelly's voice fills the room. They planned it weeks ago. Said if Elise wouldn't give them the money voluntarily, they'd just take it and deal with the fallout later. Richard called Irene dead weight when he thought no one could hear. Color drains from Logan's face. He grabs his phone, probably texting Kelly. Too late. The projector hums to life. Bank statements appear on the wall, rows of unauthorized transfers highlighted in sickly yellow. Dates, times, amounts that built a paper trail of betrayal. Those withdrawals could have been anyone, Mom interrupts, voice climbing higher. And after everything we've done, taking care of Mother all these years, we deserved. Mrs. Matthews. Deborah's tone could freeze water. Let me outline Missouri's elder abuse statutes. She opens a leather-bound folder. Financial exploitation of the elderly carries penalties of up to 10 years imprisonment and fines up to $20,000 per incident. I click to the next slide. Photos of Grandma from the days after they abandoned her unwashed hair, unchanged clothes, empty pill organizers, the social services report detailing her condition. The Springfield Herald expressed interest in covering this story. I keep my voice steady. Elder financial exploitation makes compelling headlines, especially during the holidays. You wouldn't dare, Richard surges forward. You ungrateful little. 10 days. I cut through his bluster. Return $12,600, the original amount, plus the prescriptions and utilities you left unpaid, or we proceed legally. Mom's careful makeup streaks as tears spill down her cheeks. But sweetheart, we're family. You can't. She's just an old woman wasting away anyway. Richard slams his palm against the table. Who cares if? He freezes, horror spreading across his face as he realizes what he's revealed. Brenda's eyes narrow, calculating. She touches Mom's arm. Of course we'll pay it back. We just need time to arrange. 10 days. I slide the repayment agreement across the table. Sign now. Logan's phone buzzes again. His shoulders slump as he reads Kelly's latest message. One by one, they scrawl their signatures, Mom's flowing script. Richard's angry slash, Brenda's precise letters, Logan's shaky scrawl. Grandma speaks for the first time, her quiet voice cutting through the tension. I kept every receipt for 40 years. She pats the stack of papers beside her. Remember that. I stand, offering my arm to Grandma. We walk out together, leaving them with their empty gift bag and hollow excuses. The December wind whips around us as we step onto the porch. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I feel warm. Ready to go home? I ask. Grandma squeezes my arm. Her steps are sure as we walk away from the house where I grew up, where we both learned that some bonds are forged by blood, but the strongest ones are built on trust. Behind us, the front door opens. Mom calls out, Elise, please. I don't turn around. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply walking away. 8 days later, my phone buzzed for the 5th time this morning. Mother's name flashes across the screen, accompanied by a photo of her smiling face from happier times. I let it ring. Just delete her number. Thomas suggests from his spot by the coffee maker in the lab break room. He slides a steaming mug across the table. You don't owe them anything. I need to document everything. My voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. 8 days have passed since our confrontation. 2 days remain until the deadline, and they've only repaid $800 of the $12,600 they stole. The phone buzzes again. This time, it's a text from Brenda. We're selling Richard's car. Just need more time. Please don't do this to the family. My jaw throbs. I slip another Tylenol between my lips, washing it down with Thomas's coffee. The bitterness matches my mood. A knock at the break room door makes me jump. Carol from reception holds out a thick manila envelope. Special delivery for you, Han. Inside, childhood photos spill across the table. Mom holding my hand at my kindergarten graduation. Brenda and Logan flanking me at church picnics. Family vacations where we all wore matching shirts. Each image selected to remind me of supposed happier times, to make me question my resolve. My hands shake as I stuff the photos back into the envelope. They're trying to gaslight me with my own memories. Classic manipulation. Thomas gathers the scattered pictures, his movements gentle but firm. You know what's real. The bank statements don't lie. My phone lights up with a voicemail notification. Richard's gruff voice fills the break room as I hit speaker. Listen here, young lady. Family takes care of family. Your mother raised you better than this. If you go through with this tomorrow, you'll regret destroying everything we built. Think about what you're doing to your brother and sister. I end the playback, my finger pressing the delete button with savage satisfaction. Everything we built? They built their lives on stealing from Grandma and me. The afternoon crawls by in a haze of blood samples and centrifuges. When my shift ends, I find Logan leaning against my car in the hospital parking lot. Just happened to be in the neighborhood, he says, hands shoved in his pockets. Thought I'd give you a ride to Grandma's doctor appointment. She's not seeing the doctor today. I grip my keys tighter, the metal biting into my palm. And her medical information isn't your business anymore. Come on, sis. He steps closer, that familiar pleading look in his eyes. The same one he used when begging me to cover his gambling debts. We can work this out. Brenda has a payment plan figured out. We'll take care of your part first then. Then what? My voice rises, echoing across the parking lot. Leave Grandma hanging again? Let me guess, you'll pay her back eventually, right? Just like you paid back the $1,000 you borrowed from her Social Security check last year? Logan's face darkens. That's different. I had expenses. At the casino? The words taste like acid. Save it for the judge tomorrow. And stay away from my car. That night, I helped Grandma lay out her clothes for court. Her best blouse, freshly pressed. The pearl earrings Grandpa gave her on their 40th anniversary. Are you sure about this? She asks, her weathered hands smoothing invisible wrinkles from the fabric. They're still your family. No. I sit beside her on the bed, taking her hands in mine. Family doesn't steal your surgery money and abandon you with empty pill bottles. Family doesn't spend 40 years draining your accounts and calling it love. The morning brings a crisp Missouri autumn, leaves crunching under our feet as Attorney Deborah walks us into the courthouse. Mom, Richard, Brenda, and Logan huddle near the entrance, their faces a mixture of indignation and false confidence. Behind them, Kelly stands alone, clutching a manila folder of her own evidence. Last chance, Mom calls out as we pass. We can still handle this privately. I don't slow my stride. The click of my heels against marble floors drowns out her voice. Inside the courtroom, we take our seats beside the bank fraud investigator and the social services representative. Attorney Deborah spreads her documents across the table with surgical precision. 40 years of financial records, bank statements, ATM photos, Kelly's recorded conversations about the cruise scheme. When the judge enters, I sit straighter. The pain in my jaw feels distant now, replaced by a cold clarity. I watch my family file into their seats, still believing they can talk their way out of this like they have so many times before. Richard starts to rise, that practiced smile spreading across his face. Your Honor, we have a reasonable payment plan to propose. The court is not interested in proposals. The judge's voice cuts through his bluster. The evidence before me shows a clear pattern of elder financial exploitation and fraud spanning decades. The color drains from Mom's face as the judge continues reading from the forensic report. Each unauthorized withdrawal, every forged check, the systematic emptying of Grandma's pension account. Kelly's testimony comes next, her voice steady as she describes the family's casual cruelty. They laughed about it over dinner. Said Elise would cave like always because she cared too much about looking like a good daughter. I feel Grandma's hands slip into mine as the medical reports are presented. The documented decline in her health during those 3 days alone, the missed medications, the untreated UTI that could have become sepsis. When the judge speaks again, her tone has shifted from professional to steely. This court orders immediate repayment of all stolen funds plus interest. Mrs. Matthews's accounts will be placed under court-appointed financial oversight. She turns her gaze to Richard. Furthermore, given the evidence of intimidation, a restraining order is granted against Richard Wilson. The gavel strikes wood like a thunderclap. In that moment, I see my family's facades crumble. Mom's carefully applied mascara tracks down her cheeks. Brenda's manicured nails dig into her designer purse. Logan slumps in his seat, all false bravado evaporated. Additionally, the judge continues, Patricia Matthews, Richard Wilson, Brenda Matthews, and Logan Matthews will attend mandatory financial exploitation education programs. Failure to comply will result in criminal charges being filed. Outside the courthouse, reporters cluster with microphones extended. The local senior protection organization wants to honor Grandma's courage. Someone mentions a community support fund for elder abuse victims. I guide Grandma past them all, toward the car where Thomas waits to drive us home. A journalist calls out, asking for a statement about our victory. No comment. I say, helping Grandma into the backseat. This was about justice, not publicity. As we pull away from the courthouse, I catch a final glimpse of my family in the rearview mirror. They stand frozen on the steps, looking small and lost without their power to manipulate. For the first time in my life, I feel no urge to turn back and fix things for them. Grandma's voice is soft but clear. You did the right thing. We did, I corrected her, reaching back to squeeze her hand. We did it together. We will comfort each other and enjoy freedom together. At the present, spring sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, turning my new kitchen into a haven of warmth. 6 months after that devastating Christmas Eve, the granite countertops gleam beneath mason jars filled with fresh herbs. The constant ache in my jaw has finally subsided, replaced by a gentle reminder of healing whenever I touch the fading surgical scar. The basil needs more water. Grandma Irene's voice carries from her bedroom, where she arranges pressed flowers in an album. Her silver hair catches the morning light, styled in the gentle waves Barbara from next door taught her last week. I lift the copper watering can, letting drops fall like summer rain over the miniature garden we've cultivated on the windowsill. These plants root us in our new life, marking time with green shoots and fragrant leaves. The calendar hanging between our bedrooms overflows with ink. Irene's watercolor class on Tuesdays, my therapy sessions with Dr. Marshall, weekend brunches with Thomas from the lab. No more empty squares waiting to be filled with other people's demands. A text message lights up my phone. Brenda again. I've been seeing someone, a counselor. Maybe we could talk? I set the phone face down without responding. The boundaries Dr. Marshall and I discussed hold firm, like the walls of this sun-washed apartment. Some bridges need to stay burned. Mom and Richard separated last month. The Mediterranean cruise receipts finally broke something even he couldn't fix with false promises in golf club purchases. Logan lost his job at the investment firm when his gambling came to light. Last I heard, he checked into a program upstate. Kelly visits sometimes, bringing books for Grandma and stories of her fresh start in Kansas City. She's the only one who earned back the right to cross our threshold. The Timer ladies want me to teach them origami next week. Grandma appears in the doorway wearing the lavender cardigan she bought herself with her first truly private bank account. Barbara says I have a gift for it. I smile, remembering the fierce pride in her voice when she told her social worker about the senior center craft group she now leads. The Timer ladies know talent when they see it. The dining table between us hasn't seen a family meal in half a year. Instead, it hosts our quiet breakfasts, phones tucked away in drawers while we share coffee and crossword puzzles. Sometimes Thomas joins us, his steady laugh filling spaces that used to echo with guilt. Pastor Jim drops by with fresh banana bread and conversation that never carries hidden hooks. My evening graduate program acceptance letter hangs on the bulletin board, next to a photo of Grandma surrounded by her new friends from the center. Their faces shine with the particular joy of women who've stopped apologizing for taking up space. The doorbell chimes. Attorney Deborah stands on our welcome mat, holding a folder of final paperwork. Just need your signatures to close everything out. She settles at our table, where so many battles were planned. Though I'll miss our strategy sessions. Grandma's hand finds mine under the table as we sign. The restraining order against Richard becomes permanent. Mom's mandatory financial exploitation classes continue for another year. The trust protecting Grandma's pension now has triple lock security. Later, as the sun sets, we sit on our small balcony. The spring breeze carries the scent of blooming dogwood trees. Why didn't you just leave when you saw the note? Grandma's question floats between us, gentle as dandelion seeds. I watch a pair of cardinals dart between branches, taking their time choosing the perfect spot for their nest. Because I remembered who I was before they made me forget. The smile that crosses her face holds decades of quiet knowing. For the first time, I don't feel like a burden anymore. My new hospital ID badge catches the dying light. Laboratory supervisor, the promotion I earned last week. The raise means we can visit the art museum in St. Louis next month. Grandma wants to show me the impressionist paintings she studied in college, before marriage and motherhood swallowed her dreams. Our joint checking account grows slowly but steadily. No more unauthorized withdrawals, no more guilt-soaked loans, just careful planning for weekend trips and the occasional splurge on fresh flowers. The new photo album on our coffee table tells our revised story. Grandma teaching her first craft class. My graduation from physical therapy. Thomas and Barbara joining us for Thanksgiving dinner. Pastor Jim blessing our home. Attorney Deborah raising a toast at our housewarming. Each picture captures genuine smiles, the kind that reach tired eyes and make them young again. Christmas Eve arrives with gentle determination. Our chosen family gathers around a table set with Grandma's cherished china, rescued from the old house. Thomas brings his famous pecan pie. Barbara strings white lights along the windows. Pastor Jim says grace, his words washing over us like baptism. For the courage to begin again, we give thanks. I look around at these faces, lined with years of their own battles, bright with victory. This is what family should feel like. Not an obligation, but a gift. Not a chain, but a choice. The porch swing creaks softly as Grandma and I settle in for our evening ritual. Winter stars pierce the purple twilight. Her weathered hand rests briefly on my healed jaw, where pain once lived like an unwelcome tenant. Our gentle rocking matches the rhythm of our breathing, synchronized after months of learning each other's cadence. No words needed now. Just the quiet certainty that landed in my chest that terrible night 6 months ago, growing stronger with each passing day. We're gonna be just fine.